you believe a man can be dreaming of a bright future, only to be hunted down before he ever reaches home. This is not just a murder. It's a chilling tale of love twisted into obsession, of family ties shattered by secrets. And it all began on a quiet evening in Bihar, with a phone call that never should have happened. In the peaceful village of Barwan, nestled in Bihar's Aurangabad district, lived a young man named Priyanshu Singh. He was 27, full of life, and had just stepped into a new chapter of his world, married only weeks ago to a woman named Gunja. Everyone in the village called him Chotu, a loving nickname from his childhood. He came from a well-respected zamindar family with over 60 bighas of fertile land. Farming was not just his profession, it was his pride. Though his father had passed, Priyanshu lived with his aging mother and his elder brother who worked in the city. Their joint family shared bonds of unity and tradition. Priyanshu wasn't just another farmer. He was a young man with dreams in his eyes, dreams of building a family, growing his land, and making something greater out of his simple life. His wedding on May 10, 2025, to Gunja, a 27-year-old woman from a nearby village, had filled his house with joy, laughter, and new hopes. Arranged through mutual relatives, their union seemed perfect. But as we'll soon find out, not every perfect match is made in heaven. On June 23rd, just over a month after the wedding, Priyanshu had to travel to Chandauli near Varanasi to visit a cousin. It was a short trip, just overnight. He planned to return the next evening and had promised his mother and wife he'd be home for dinner. He boarded the intercity express bound for Ranchi and kept his family updated with every stop. "I'll be there by 7:30 p.m., he said on the call with his mother. But no one could have imagined that this would be his last journey. Worried about the lonely path from the railway station to their village, Priyanshu's mother sent 2 local boys, Sonu, also known as Ankit, and Anup, to pick him up. They rushed off on a Pulsar bike, ready to escort their beloved brother home. When they reached the station, the train had not yet arrived. They waited patiently. Soon Priyanshu stepped off the train with his usual cheerful spirit. "I'll drive," he said, climbing onto the bike. The 3 of them set off toward home, unaware of the nightmare that lay ahead. They took a route through a silent stretch near a village called Lambakap. It was just after sunset, the sky turning dark, and the road was empty, eerily empty. Suddenly, another bike approached from behind at high speed. 2 strangers on it flagged them down, pretending to ask for directions. "Bhaiya, can you tell us the way to Deoraj Biga?" one of them asked innocently. Priyanshu, ever helpful, leaned forward to guide them, saying, "Just go straight for 2 kilometers. But before he could even finish his sentence, the man sitting behind the other bike pulled out a homemade pistol. Without hesitation, he fired, once, twice, and then again. 7 to 8 shots rang out. 4 bullets struck Priyanshu directly in the head and upper body. Blood splattered. He collapsed with his bike. Anup and Sonu froze in horror, unable to grasp what was happening. The gunmen didn't flee immediately. They lingered, watching Priyanshu struggle for life. One of them pulled out a phone and made a quick call, saying coldly, "He's still breathing. What do we do?" Moments later, the 2 fled the scene on their bike. The silence of the night was broken only by the terrified screams of Anup and Sonu, who rushed to get help. Villagers gathered. Someone called an ambulance. Priyanshu was taken to the nearby hospital in Nabi Nagar, but it was too late. The doctors at Magad Multi-Speciality Hospital had no good news. Priyanshu was declared dead on arrival. An entire village that had just celebrated his wedding was now preparing for his funeral. His wife Gunja fainted the moment she heard the news. His mother sat stunned, her world shattered into pieces. Nothing made sense. No one could understand who would want to hurt such a decent, kind-hearted young man. The police moved quickly. A special investigation team was formed by the superintendent of police. This wasn't just a random roadside shooting. It was an execution. They began their probe with the obvious suspects, Anup and Sonu. Why had they remained unharmed while the man between them was murdered? Were they involved, or simply too shocked to react? But the story wasn't that simple. As police dug deeper, they discovered something strange. Priyanshu's mobile phone was still at the crime scene. The call records showed regular check-ins with his family. Nothing suspicious. But what caught investigators' attention was another phone. One they found hidden in Priyanshu's house, tucked away in a place no one had noticed before. Whose phone was it? And why had it been hidden? When questioned, Gunja hesitated before claiming it was hers. Her in-laws were shocked. No one had ever seen her use this phone before. She already had a regular phone she used daily. So why the secret device? The SIM card in the hidden phone was active, and the number had made dozens of calls on the night of Priyanshu's murder. One number stood out. Over 50 calls had been made that day to a single contact, someone saved under a code name. When traced, it was revealed to be her uncle, a man named Gunja-Priyanshu Singh, a wealthy businessman from Palamu district in Jharkhand. He ran transport companies, truck businesses, and even owned showrooms. But why was a newlywed woman speaking to her uncle so obsessively on the day her husband was murdered? More importantly, what was she hiding? As the investigation thickened, the police couldn't help but ask the chilling question: was Priyanshu's death a tragic coincidence, or a meticulously planned murder by someone who knew exactly where he'd be that night? What if the person sleeping beside you is hiding a secret so dark it could kill you? What if the smile you see is just a mask hiding a monster within? Priyanshu never saw it coming, because the person who wanted him dead was not a stranger. It was someone who had vowed to be by his side forever. After discovering a hidden phone in Priyanshu's home, the investigation took a dramatic turn. The phone belonged to his wife, Gunja. Until that moment, her in-laws had seen her as a quiet, respectful bride. But when police asked her about the device, her hesitation raised alarms. Why would she hide a phone, especially when she already had one? And why had she made more than 50 calls from it on the day of her husband's death? All roads led to one man, Gunja's uncle, Gunja-Priyanshu Singh. He was a 60-year-old businessman from Daltonganj, Jharkhand. With political connections, transport businesses, and serious influence in the region, Gunja Singh wasn't someone the police could accuse easily. But when they pulled his call records, something didn't feel right. Gunja had contacted him 99 times on her wedding day alone. What kind of relationship demands that level of communication? When confronted, Gunja finally broke down. But what she confessed stunned everyone, including the police. She said she had been in a relationship with Gunja Singh for over 15 years. Yes, since she was just 12 years old, growing up in her aunt's home where Jivan Singh, her uncle by marriage, first began giving her gifts, attention, and love that crossed every boundary. He took her to the city, bought her clothes, paid for her education, and gradually made her believe it was love. Gunja's own family had sent her to live with her aunt so she could study in better schools. But instead of a safe environment, she had walked into a trap, a forbidden relationship with a man more than twice her age. A man she began to call Fufaji, but loved like a partner. A man who should have protected her, but instead destroyed her sense of right and wrong. As she grew older, their bond turned physical, and no one knew, not her parents, not her aunt, not even the people who later tried to marry her off. In fact, every time Gunja's father found a suitable match, Jivan would sabotage it. He pretended to be a concerned relative, but his real motive was to keep Gunja tied to him. 2 marriage proposals were already broken because of him, but no one suspected why. Everything changed in April 2025. Gunja's aunt, the wife of Jivan Singh, caught them in a compromising situation. What she saw shattered her. She immediately called Gunja's father and begged him to take his daughter back. "Get her out of this house," she said, "and marry her off immediately." Her father was confused and shocked, but trusted his sister's instincts. Gunja was sent back home, and within weeks, her marriage to Priyanshu was arranged. Gunja resisted. She argued. She begged her family not to force her into this. But no one listened. Eventually she agreed, but only after Jivan told her to go ahead with the wedding. "Let them think you've moved on," he whispered. "We'll deal with it later." The wedding took place on May 10th. While guests danced and drums played, Gunja was secretly texting and calling Jivan, promising that nothing would change. She said the marriage was just a formality. "My body may be here," she told him, "but my heart will always be with you." And Jivan? He wasn't just some jealous old man. He was calculating, powerful, and ruthless. He told her, "If this husband gets in our way, we'll remove him. For good." At first, Gunja hesitated. She tried to avoid contact. In the early days of her marriage, there were too many people in the house. Relatives, neighbors, guests. She barely got time to speak with Jivan. But as the house emptied out, she returned to her old ways. The hidden phone allowed them to talk in secret. She would lie about visiting her parents, but instead meet Jivan in private. Meanwhile, Priyanshu began to sense something wasn't right. His wife was constantly on the phone, always locking the screen, always acting distant. One night he asked her directly, "Who do you talk to all the time?" She replied casually, "My uncle, my Fufaji. What's the problem in that?" Priyanshu checked the number and confirmed it was Jivan's, but something still didn't feel right. Deep down, his instincts were screaming at him. He started watching her more closely, tracking her movements. And Gunja noticed. Feeling cornered, she told Jivan, "He's getting suspicious," she said. "I can't keep hiding this forever." That's when the plan was born. Jivan promised her money, 40 lakh rupees, a large piece of land in Daltonganj, and full security. Once he's gone, he said, "You'll be free, and we'll finally be together without hiding." Gunja agreed. Jivan contacted 2 criminals through one of his men, offering them a contract to kill Priyanshu. Their names were Jay Shankar and Mukesh Sharma, both from Garhwa district. Mukesh, who owned a small mobile shop, bought SIM cards under fake IDs. One was given to Jeevan, another to Gunja, and the third to the contract killers. This way they could communicate without using their real numbers. Then came the final step. Gunja sent Jeevan a photo of her husband. She also provided his routine, where he worked, what roads he took, what time he returned. The killers even visited Priyanshu's village to study the layout, pretending to be travelers. It was all going according to plan. On June 22nd, Gunja told Priyanshu to go to the market to buy sweets. "My brother is coming," she said. "We should have something nice to offer." That was supposed to be the night of the hit. But the market was too crowded. There was no opportunity. The killers called it off. Then unexpectedly, Priyanshu mentioned his trip to Chandauli. He'd be going alone and returning the next day late evening. Gunja's eyes lit up. She immediately told Jeevan. "This is it," she said. "This time don't fail." On June 24th, as Priyanshu updated his mother and wife from the train, Gunja forwarded each update to Jeevan. He passed the information to the hitmen. Step by step, message by message, they tracked his exact movements. By the time he reached the station, they were already waiting. And as Sonu, Anup, and Priyanshu rode down the silent road near Lambakap, the killers followed. They overtook the bike, stopped them with a fake question, and opened fire. The plan had succeeded, but something unexpected happened. Priyanshu wasn't dead immediately. He was still breathing. The killers panicked. One of them made a phone call. "He's still alive. What now?" A voice on the other end said, "Leave. Don't risk it." And they did. What they didn't know was that this single phone call would be the very thread that unraveled the entire conspiracy. What if the monster you fear isn't hiding in the dark, but sitting right at your dinner table wearing a smile, calling you husband? In a world where love and obsession blur into one, where promises are made in whispers and murders are planned in silence, can justice ever truly catch up? The murder of Priyanshu Singh shook the village of Barwan, but what followed in the next few days shocked the entire nation. The killers had escaped, the clues were scattered, and Gunja, the grieving widow, was putting on a performance worthy of an award. She cried, she fainted, she cursed fate for taking her husband. But behind that veil of tears, her hands were stained with his blood. The police were relentless. Their breakthrough came from the call dump analysis, the data of all active numbers in the crime zone during the time of the murder. Hundreds of numbers were flagged. One in particular stood out. It matched the secret SIM card used by Gunja, which was activated on the same day as the killer's phones, using the same ID. That was no coincidence. Even more damning was the call made by one of the assailants moments after the shooting. The one where he whispered, "He's still alive." What now? That number 2 matched a contact saved in Gunja's hidden phone. Suddenly, the entire puzzle clicked into place. Gunja had not only supplied her husband's schedule and photo, she had been the bridge between the killers and the mastermind. Her lover, her uncle Jeevan Singh, the same man who had raised her, seduced her, and promised her freedom in exchange for blood. The police wasted no time. Gunja was arrested from her in-laws' home. She didn't resist. Maybe deep inside she was ready for it to end. Based on her call records, 2 more suspects, Jay Shankar and Mukesh Sharma, were located and arrested from their village in Jharkhand. The killers confessed quickly. and what they revealed about the planning left even the officers speechless. Jeevan Singh, the so-called respectable businessman, had used his influence and wealth to create an almost foolproof crime. He offered the shooters 5 lakh rupees for the job. The mobile shop owner, Mukesh, helped arrange 3 SIM cards under fake identities. They created an encrypted line of communication. Gunja would track her husband. Jeevan would give orders, the hitmen would execute. But they didn't expect the phone call to be traced. They didn't expect the police to connect SIM card activation dates. They didn't expect the widow to break down during questioning and confess everything. Gunja revealed chilling details, that even after marriage, she and Jeevan had stayed in touch daily. She would lie about going to her parents' house only to sneak off to meet him. He visited her secretly. Sometimes they even met under the same roof as Priyanshu. "My husband began to doubt me," she said, "so we had no choice." The most horrifying revelation? This relationship started when she was just 12 years old. She had grown up believing it was love. "Age and relation don't matter," she told the police coldly. "Love is love." But was it really love? Or just manipulation wrapped in gifts, lies, and power? Priyanshu's murder was not an accident. It was the final chapter in a long game of control. From sabotaging Gunja's past proposals to destroying her marriage, Jeevan had planned every move. Even on her wedding day, Gunja called him nearly 100 times, each call a silent scream that she wasn't done with him. And he promised her, "I will not let anyone take you away." Even during her wedding rituals, while cameras captured her smiling beside Priyanshu, her heart was loyal to another man. She had no intention of building a life with her husband. She was only waiting for the right time to end his. The final blow came during the press conference on July 2nd. The police laid everything bare. The killers were in custody. The widow was charged with criminal conspiracy and murder. And the respected uncle, he too was arrested. His political connections couldn't save him. The power he once flaunted now meant nothing. His face, once known for charity and business, now flashed across every news channel as a monster hiding behind respectability. The entire state was stunned. People kept asking, how could this go on for 15 years without anyone noticing? How could a man cross the line of blood and morality and convince a child it was love? And how could a girl so young be taught that betrayal was a form of affection? In the courtroom, as Gunja stood in silence, the judge read out the charges. Her hands trembled. Maybe it was guilt, or maybe it was the realization that the man she loved had led her to prison. Jeevan stood behind her, no longer a protector but an accomplice. Priyanshu's mother, now broken and pale, watched quietly from the back. Her son had been kind, honest, and hard-working. He had welcomed Gunja with open arms. In return, she gifted him death. The villagers still speak about Priyanshu's wedding as a cursed celebration. How joy turned into a funeral within 45 days. How a bride brought ruin, not happiness. How a mother waited by the door, only to receive a body, and now as the trial begins, the world will judge whether this was love or something much darker. We often believe that monsters live outside our homes, hiding in shadows. But what if the monster is someone you trust, someone you love, someone who once kissed your forehead and said, "I'll always protect you"? Gunja and Jeevan's story isn't just about murder, it's about manipulation, misplaced love, and how silence can protect a crime for over a decade. So here's the question we leave you with. If someone claims to love you but asks you to destroy another life, can that ever be real love? Or is it just a prison you've been taught to adore? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Was this obsession or love? And do you think justice has truly been served?